Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here on yet another Chase for Pace Saturday. This is a big one. It's the final series for the 2023 calendar year, and it is the Porsche Cup. We will be following some of the tracks used in the official FIA Porsche Cup. As you can see, some of the liveries also sported by those teams. And this evening promises to be a thrilling one. You might realize there are names that you are looking at that you are not accustomed to. We're getting international here at the JSRA, and we have lots of international drivers with us from varying parts of the world: Europe, America, South America, and well, although Roger Robinson is a Jamaican, he currently resides in Singapore. My name is Chad Dillon. We are joining you here from the Miami International Circuit, virtually, of course. And alongside me is El Presidente. Man is thanking me for allowing him to be a part of his spectacle, as he is the mastermind behind this entire operation. But I digress. We have just concluded the free practice session and we'll be starting qualifying momentarily. And when we get going in qualifying, we will see what these drivers have to offer us here this evening in terms of pace around this track. And I'm sure qualifying has started, so you will see the drivers going out now. Again, a very vast representation of countries here this evening. We have some Trinidadians, some Colombians, some Panamanians.
Can you hear? Yeah. Sorry.
Me?
No, apologies for that, Chaddy B. I was talking with the myth and the man and the legend himself sitting right beside me, Mr. Rory Daly. So please excuse me for that 2 seconds.
I'm
but
just making sure that my audio is coming through loud and clear.
yes, your audio was perfect. Mine was muted at the time. So just making sure that everything is running as smoothly on my end as it is for you. But we are good to go. Sorry to cut you. You can continue.
Right, yeah. So as I mentioned, we have a very vast representation of drivers here this evening, which includes other Caribbean countries, Central America, South America, North America, Europe, and Asia even. Some of these drivers fresh off some racing at
Suzuka.
Yes, Suzuka in the CTCC series. That is still such a mouthful to say.
Tongue twister.
Quite. But yes, these drivers will be looking to give us the best show we can around the streets of Miami. And we will be sure to be watching out for what action is coming our way. The names you're used to at the top might have some new challengers. So you're used to seeing the Jaden Harrisons, the Kurt Mosses, the Mark Anthony Eatons, and the Roger Robinsons at the top of your timing sheet. But we've based on the impressions we've gotten from some of these drivers, you are certainly in for maybe some challenges up and down the field. We know Vince da Silva is no slouch, and Estefano Barrera as well can be a challenger, but new to the JSRA, Miss Raven Plummer. Yes, you heard me correctly, Miss Raven Plummer. She was yesterday her debut, Stevie? I might be mistaken
Yesterday was her debut in the JSRA, 110%.
Yes, so she gave us quite the show around Suzuka yesterday in a battle with Kurt Moss that ended up being for the win.
She took names and kicked behind. She was a spectacle. That was awesome to watch, though, Chad. I was blown away by the by the racecraft and the intensity, and who we are used to being at the top of the timing sheets. Fighting with the likes of them and putting on quite some competition. Hats off.
No, absolutely. She turned Kurt Moss from 100 to 100, and that was something that was quite interesting to watch. And I mean, her method of attack was just so calculated and very precise. So certainly a name to watch for as we proceed through this qualifying session. So we're
Keep
about
in mind though, Kurt not in his most comfortable in the CTCCs. So you know
I
now
don't
that
blame
he
him.
is, what's that?
I don't blame him. They are
Yeah,
as
they
as they're down on power, they're not the easiest cars to drive.
I know
So
he typically has, let's not say issues, but preference, or less preference to, you know, the slow, the street class series. So he is a little bit more in tuned with, let's say, a Porsche GT3. So let's see what he can do, what he can pull from his sock. But again, as we say at the top of the timing sheets, Estefano Barrero from Colombia and relatively new JSRA member who has showed up and just kind of made his name a staple, Alex Jarrett, putting it in P2 there, right behind Estefano and just sandwiching himself between Kurt and Estefano. So that's another name to look for.
absolutely, no, we certainly are having new and exciting talent join us here, and this is kind of what we have been hoping and aiming for, to get big name drivers. Well, I say big name, but brilliant talent that can take it to the guys locally and give them something to measure up to. So certainly it is great to see this level of talent out there in the field to give some of the younger drivers an opportunity to see how they stack up against a real international talent. So we are about 6 minutes, well, 5.5 minutes into this qualifying session, and we've seen a few flyers. Estefano Barrero, the only driver to have cracked the 156 window. Behind him, Alex Jarrett and Kurt Moss separated by a tenth and a half. And further down the order, we're still waiting on quite a few drivers to put in their fast laps. So certainly this order is subject to change with 9 minutes to go in the quali session. But I mean, as Luis Daniel Velez, they're having a bit of a moment that looks like turn one.
That was turn
So
one, yes. Coming
so
OT. And I think we're going to say a lot of that, Chad.
oh yeah, no, Miami is a track that will, much like Miss Ravenplum, will take names and kick behind. So
Definitely, and especially with this car, I have heard the drivers complaining. One, about the track. This is the only street circuit on our calendar for the Porsche Series 4, our final chase for pace. But I guess get it out of the way quick and let's see what can be done. But I'm
yeah,
excited.
no, absolutely. The Porsche though, what a pretty car to behold. I
Oh
mean,
god, and it sounds
yeah,
amazing.
you had the opportunity to look at one up close and personal. It was brought in for the ATL Auto Show, where the JSRA was ever present, just stamping our names anywhere we can. Give us
Oh,
your
what an
thoughts on the car.
experience. What an experience. First of all, I should tell you, I was livid. I do picture myself having one, or even if it is only in Assetto Corsa, I do picture myself having one. So to see it live, in person, you know, and funny enough, we were in right above them, the booth, right above the GT3. So we had the perfect view for it all weekend. It upset me a few times when they started it and they were revving the during cold start, and you know, I'm
Oh,
not sure if the owner was too pleased with that. But that being said, Chad, it was one of the most beautiful vehicles I've ever seen, and you know, it was
well, we will
just a
certainly have it on
coincidence.
display here. Absolutely, we'll certainly have it on display here for the viewers for the next few weeks. So certainly you get a good look at it in all different forms of liveries. I see the BWT livery there, signature pink. driven by Mr. Mark Anthony Eaton, who currently sits third on the timing chart. Mr. Moss has thrown down the gauntlet with a 156.3, 5/10 ahead of almost 6/10 ahead of Estefano Barrero's benchmark to start the session. But again, still lots of time to go, 6 minutes and change, and there are certainly drivers that we expect to see get closer to that benchmark time put down by Kurt Moss.
I'm sorry, that's not 5/10, that's 500, that's 5,000. My apologies. Yeah.
Whoops. My goodness. I guess he heard me and said, "Oh yeah, watch this."
There you go, sir.
Was that Usher meme? But yeah. Estefano Barrero certainly came to play, and this is very typical of him, right there with Kurt Moss. As Kurt Moss has improved, it wants to look like. No, sorry, that is the gap to the drivers around. But yeah, no, Estefano Barrero has been a thorn in the side, to say the least, of Kurt Moss over the last few series. Certainly showcasing that he has what it takes to be at the very top here at the JSRA, and the Colombian looking to continue that run of form here in the Porsche Cup. But Kurt Moss is on a good lap at the moment, fastest in Sector 1 and up in Sector 2, so we will see if that lap materializes. I actually can't see where he is on track. He would have crossed the line not too long ago and goes even quicker, yet again, 5/10 ahead of the previous best time.
I apologize, I did step away for a second there.
Okay, no, it's 2/10 ahead of Mr. Barrero. My apologies. Yeah, no, sorry. Between the live timing, the live screen and real and live timing, I am getting a little bit flustered here. And as we are talking, Raven Plummer slots herself into third position, right there with big boys coming to play. So certainly one to watch there, as you mentioned. And we see Alex Jarrett also in fourth. So all of the names that we had spoken about are really putting themselves into contention ahead of the rest of the field. And we have about 4 minutes to go here in this qualifying session to have the grid set out. And again, Miami, not the easiest of places to overtake, even with the very long back straight. It's a very tight and winding track, so you will find yourself struggling for places to kind of position your car to get ahead. Absolutely. So track position might be rather important here as we are ramping up to the last few minutes of the qualifying session. I don't see much improvement up and down the order at the moment. Maybe this is the pace that can be displayed, but certainly the drivers have time to go regroup in the pits and come out for one last flyer before we get to the end of the qualifying session. So we will see if that is what will happen, because between the top three is 3/10. From Kurt Moss to Estefano Barrero, roughly 2.5 tenths, and a further 34 hundredths back to Miss Raven Plummer. And even Alex Jarrett a further 2 tenths from that. So the top five separated by less than a second in total. Certainly those drivers can, I'm not sure who that is having a moment there. Was that Vince or Roger?
I think that was Roger Kello, as well as Jaden, having a little mix somewhere in the order as well. I am a little bit surprised Luis Velez hasn't made his way up the ladder as yet, but he was a late comer. I know he's one of those Jadens. He had what I think it was a 2-hour race, then a 1-hour race and now he's in our race. So, and that all happened in the span of 4 hours or 5 hours, I'd say.
And Jaden Harrison, not much different. Jaden was in a 6-hour race earlier today, um, where he along with his teammate, an unnamed person, finished fourth in their class. But yeah, Jaden Harrison also having done quite a bit of driving today,
Definitely.
must be showing signs of fatigue at this stage of the game as he is down there in ninth position at the moment.
I know
Just
he
moved ahead of
was on the edge, yeah, just in ahead of Luis Daniel Velez, as you were about to say. Oh, sorry, Vincent da Silva. But sorry to cut you. I know he was on the edge about racing, as well as Kimani Eastman, who is sitting down in the pits. Because again, and even you, I know I've realized you've left yourself out. Again, thank you for joining us here with commentary. I didn't expect it to come, but nonetheless, we do appreciate you coming, because it would be so much worse if I was the one babbling on for 2 hours. So, that being said, we have 26 seconds remaining in qualifying, Mr. Dillon. Kurt Moss is in the pits. I guess he's quite comfortable with Mr. Barrero. Less than less than a tenth below.
just about a 10th actually.
Right.
So Barrero still finding time. If he has one more good flyer in him, maybe he can challenge Moss there at the top. Because with a 10th separating the two and Raven Plummer further 10th back, the top spot is not safe despite the fact that he is currently sitting in the pit. But it looks like Barrero has backed out of that lap,
Yes.
and I guess it's comfortable to start P2.
Yes. And it seems as if Raven herself had not the best sector 1. Did a little bit better with sector 2, going at 10th fast, or matching her personal best, it seems. So let's see if she can, but at this rate I am going to assume she's not going to be on the top step. With that being said, I don't see anybody out there, Chad, that can fight for that final position. So it seems as if Mr. Massive is safe. As the only person I do notice out is Mark Anthony. So, and he is 8 tenths down. So that being said, I am excited for 13 drivers. How many countries? Jamaica, Trinidad, Colombia, America, and Panama. And we have Switzerland as well, with Mr. Roger Kello, who has been in our CTCC races, stirring up some drama. Very clean, very fast, very hard and aggressive driver. So happy to have him on board as well.
About 6 countries between 13 drivers. Not a bad turnout there, sir.
Definitely, and this is just a start. I know it should have a few more, as you call them, aliens joining us in the future. Even if it's not for this series, we do enjoy having a lot of our other countries join us and partake and show their talent. So,
absolutely. So yes, this about concludes the quali session, and we will be getting the drivers lining up on the grid to go racing in this round 1 of the Porsche Cup for the final Chase of Pace here in 2023. And what a year it has been. I mean, we've seen endurance racing, we've seen Formula Series, we've seen Radical Championships, touring cars, GT4s, GT3s. I mean, we've done it all. Every form of racing you could think of has been covered. We've done drift. I think the only thing missing from this year, which we would have done in the early part of the JSRA, would have been togeys and hill climbs. But certainly, we have covered the spectrum of racing this year with the JSRA. So we look forward to what is coming for 2024.
I am excited for it. I can't wait to send out the calendar. But you're right. We've done literally everything you can imagine. I'm tired. But I am happy with the direction that we've been going. I love the reception that we've received, whether it's on the online or virtual servers or if it's in the physical realm. The racing has been phenomenal. We've seen some ridiculous moves this year, and even in the CTCCs on the Friday races and the Saturday races, I think we're going to end this year pretty strong. So I am looking forward to it. Happy to have you finish the year as the lead commentator, Mr. himself.
About the only thing I've led this year.
Well, you also led blocking your cousin in. Anyways, that being said,
Sir, there's a very big difference between a block and a defense. I'd like you to clean up your argument to the good viewers at home. Don't come slander me on good Sports Max and all of the other platforms that we're currently streaming on talking about blocking. You don't like the defense, take it up with the stewards.
agreed. I cannot fight it. And just to make mention, Mr. Nicholas Donald will be our head race, or let me say, the race director and the crew chief for today's race and moving forward. So I am excited to see how this race will go under his guise, as he has set us, well, he knows the standard that we have here at the JSRA. I know there's nobody else that we can trust truly to uphold the standard as high as we uphold it. So huge shout out to him. Excited to see what he can do. And again, don't get too comfortable. I will not be doing too much commentary in 2024, but I will help out where it needs. So those at home, you can rest at ease.
Yeah, no, as you mentioned, Nick Donald, the man that has such integrity that he has once reported himself for an incident he caused on track. I mean, I don't know how much integrity one man can have, but that is true integrity if I've ever seen it. Never have I ever heard a driver report themselves.
No, that was, again, we work with persons who believe in the same dream that we have. So I'm very excited to have him on board, along with everybody else that is on board. Excuse me for 1 second.
Absolutely. Well, as we are excusing El Presidente, the drivers have lined up 50 minutes of racing action to come your way. As Joshua Brady has disconnected. What a moment. But certainly we have 13 drivers lined up. Mr. Donald is not racing. He is using the position you see him occupying as a way to monitor the racing action on track. But we will certainly be getting going in a moment with Kurt Moss leading the field away from pole position alongside Estefano Barrera as we are about to get the lights going. We are awaiting the 6 lights to go racing here in Miami for round 1 of the Porsche Cup. The final series of the JSRA for 2023 is on the way, and Kurt Moss looks to have gotten away quite nicely there, moving over to try and cover off any possible dive into turn 1 from Estefano Barrera, getting the elbows out and securing P1 through the first turn, and the rest of the field will follow suit. There is some collision behind, but it doesn't look to be anything catastrophic. Mark Anthony Eaton finds himself up in second place coming out of that. Raven Plummer, having a torrid start, finds herself down in fifth, 2 positions lost, as well as two positions lost for both Estefano Barrera and Raven Plummer, as Mark Anthony Eaton and Alex Jarrett are battling it out for P2 on track. Getting tied up trying to follow the action here in lap 1 of round 1, and Kurt Moss already pulling quite the gap on the rest of the field, and it looks like we are in for a fight between the 4 drivers behind. All 4 drivers again well within about half a second of each other in the qualifying session, so certainly the pace is there for all of them, as Eaton is right on the wing of Estefano Barrera, who made that move, and Eaton looking to get some serious wheel-to-wheel action here, as they're almost side by side heading onto the back straight. Eaton running a little wide there, and again, this is a street track, folks, so certainly running wide is not an option. Running wide equals running into a wall. Vince De Silva making good progress there early on, finds himself up in 6th position, and with that him going by Raven Plomo, she is not having the greatest opening lap here. Oh man, is there some contact there between her and I believe that is Eaton in front of her? She now finds herself sitting in 5th position with Eaton just ahead, Eaton having lost out to Estefana Barrera as Alex Jarrett is now under pressure from Estefano Barrera, who is trying to get back to where he started in this race. All the while, Kurt Moss is clearing off down the road, already 2-3 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. So if Estefano wants any shot at the top spot, he needs to clear Alex Jarrett and do so very quickly. But again, we're talking about the Miami Raceway, and it is not the easiest track to make a move around, and this might be as good a chance as he finds on the inside line there, forcing Alex to go the long way around, and looks to get the elbows out to defend that position and has done so successfully. No, Alex has held on to that position. It's just so hard to keep up. It's coming at the final.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to keep up, but I can barely keep up. The fighting is unanimous, or everything is just happening at once. As Mark or Raven just makes a move on Mark Anthony, and Mark Anthony makes a move back. Alex Jarrett holding on for P2 with Estefana right beside him on the edge, fighting it out for the top 5 positions, let's say top 6, with Vincent De Silva right behind Raven Plomo. Chad?
And yeah, no, Raven and Mark are trading positions there, back and forth they go, along with Alex Jarrett and Estefano Barrera up ahead. But all of this fighting is just handing Kurt Moss this race, because he is already 4.5 seconds up the road, as Mark Anthony Eaton there is right alongside Estefano Barrera and looking to keep that fight going. So Mark Anthony Eaton, well, maintains 4th position. Estefano Barrera there defending that position quite nicely. And I'm sorry, we don't yet know the liveries quite well, so it's hard to tell who's who in all of this fighting. But it is madness out there. I mean, I'm not sure if we've seen war like this on the opening couple of laps in quite some time. These drivers are fighting tooth and nail to establish their position early. Again, not the easiest track to overtake around, but it's certainly going to lend itself to the driver ahead being able to defend more aggressively than he would around another more open traditional circuit. So Eaton again putting some pressure on Estefano Barrera on the inside line there, and some contact as Eaton makes his way through into 3rd place, and maybe it's his turn to have a go at Alex Jarrett, unless Estefano Barrera has anything to say about that. And these drivers still not separated by much. All the while this fighting is going on, as I keep mentioning, Kurt Moss is just loving this from his perspective. 5 seconds up the road and no challenger in sight. By the time all of this is squared away, he would be long gone and comfortably leading this race. But especially Sector 2. Sector 2 is such a tight sectional track that you find it very, very difficult to make up any positions, and by the time you round this corner back onto the long straight, you are going at such slow speeds that the exit speeds are minimally different, so you can't even make a move, and we don't know what the slipstream is like around this track. So certainly, as we see 3 drivers in a line, clearly the slipstream not that powerful here. I can't keep up. There's a lot happening, and is that Estefano Barrera diving up the inside of Mark Anthony Eaton and taking back that 3rd place. And this has lent itself to Alex Jarrett clearing off. So Alex Jarrett now is comfortably sitting in 2nd, while the fight for P3 is still very aggressively on. Mark Anthony Eaton there outbreaking everybody, including himself. But Estefano Barrera ends up pointing the wrong way coming out of that incident. And Mark now moves up into 3rd place. I'm sure the stewards will be looking at that to figure out if anything went awry there, but I'm tired.
I want to help you, Chad. I can't. I
No,
genuinely want to help you. So much has happened.
this is a fight if I've ever seen a fight. I mean, nobody is being given an inch here with the exception of the two drivers ahead of the pack, as Alex Jarrett has now cleared these drivers by about 2 seconds, and Kurt Moss still trundling off into the distance.
Keep in
But
mind as well, Chaddy B, Estefano is not that far away. You know, he has a pace. Yes, he is still a few seconds behind. Maybe there's a little bit of damage, but he is one of those that will not give up. So,
we
42
all
minutes
know that.
remaining.
Absolutely, and certainly we will be seeing when that comes back to him. Is there a mandatory pit stop? I don't remember
There
seeing.
is a mandatory pit stop in the race for tires. The pit window opens at the 20th minute and closes at the 40th. So,
Certainly, we have 10 minutes, well, 12 minutes prior to the pit window opening,
yes,
and then a
sir.
20-minute pit window for everybody to come in. So, not and that pit window doesn't lend itself for you to make too many obscene strategy calls. It's just a very basic undercut, overcut type of scenario, depending on where you are in a battle at that particular moment in time. So certainly you want to be looking at how best to utilize that strategy. As we are on board with Estefano Guerrero, who is trying to make his way back up the field, and again, Miami, not a track that lends itself to easy overtakes. You can set the move up, but there is only so much runoff and no more. And by so much runoff and no more, I mean no runoff, with the exception of a few corners. So it is quite difficult to get moves done. All the driver has to really do is defend the inside line to the best of his ability, and it becomes that much more difficult to make a move stick. As we see there, Estefano made that move, and as the drivers on the inside line managed to steal that position off, and that is Mikhail Charles of Trinidad battling with the Colombian, and still going side by side here through what looks like sorry, I'm just trying to catch my bearings. That is heading towards the. I don't know the turn numbers well enough for this, but yeah, this battle continues on.
It should be known
These
as
drivers,
well, Uncle Chad, that that driver in the pink car, Mikhail Charles, is a keyboard warrior. As his goal is to be the fastest keyboard driver on the grid. As Estefano is making his move alongside Vincent da Silva, a good friend of ours from GT Panama.
absolutely.
As he makes that move stick, how far is he from Mr. Eaton, who lost positions to Mrs. Plummer or Miss Plummer? My apologies. Ooh,
Yeah, Mario of Doom on some.
my
Oh,
apologies.
and some
Ouchie,
contact there. Estefano Barrero
ouchie,
still
ouchie.
having trouble making that move as he has had some more contact. Again, that is part of the battling on a street circuit. It is so tight that the margin for error is not that great. And as Roger Keller there making a move around the outside of Rafael Rivas, and Roger Keller finds himself up in 8th place now, the Swede. We will check back in on Estefano's progress a little bit later on, but he has
He
DNF.
has the NF, right? Right.
Yeah, no, one too many incidents there for Estefano Barrero. Rather unfortunate to see him go, but still lots of racing to be presented to us. There's still 9 drivers competing for that top spot. Kurt Moss sits comfortably in the lead of this race, almost 6 seconds clear of Alex Jarrett, and Raven Plummer has closed that gap to Alex, and she's now within a second. So maybe there is another fight on there. Ooh, and that is that Roger Keller pointing the wrong way? No, it's
That
Kimani
is
Eastman.
Kimani Eastman. Um, Street circuits, Chad. Street circuits. They're tough.
Yeah, no,
They're
again,
tough.
there's no margin for error. You don't run off, you run into. So these drivers have their work cut out for them here this evening, and with Let's just under 40 minutes to go. Still lots of racing to be done and an entire pit stop window to deal with. Stevie, you have the apps up on the right-hand side. So Raven Plummer here now closing the gap to Alex Jarrett, and it does look like she has a little bit more pace than he does. So this will once again bring her racecraft into question as Mikhail Charles making a move there on Vince the Silver. And Mikhail Charles is getting that move done. I think he might have a little bit more pace there than Vince here this afternoon, despite the fact that he is, as El Presidente mentioned on keyboard and mouse, he is quite a gifted driver, despite his methods of driving.
No, he, and that's where you have to commend him. As you could see, even with Estefana and Mikhail there was some nice side-by-side action. Even if there was a little bit of rubbing, Mikhail does have a high standard when he's not idling, and he knows what that means when he hears me say that. But talented, quick, clean, and once he gets his mind on something, he can be a killer, to say the least. But Raven Plummer, as you said, right on the bumper of Alex Jarrett. Who is that? That seems as if it's somebody in a red.
Is that Jaden?
It's Jaden Harrison in the red Porsche. I guess he was just letting the traffic go by. As he said,
a lap down, and I'm sure. I mean, that is a lot of driving for any one person to do in a day.
man.
So nobody would be the critic if we decided to park that car here this evening, because several hours of racing throughout the day already, and this is a very demanding circuit. I think that might be him now running wide again to allow Kimani Eastman through, or who's that he was allowed to? Is that Mark Anthony Eden? It seems to be Mark, so yeah.
Yes, sir. Rivals always finding themselves no matter what. You know, I just find it so funny. But anyways, love to see it. Obviously not them overtaking them or lapping, but I always love to see them together.
Right in that fight with Alex Jarrett, she was alongside him for a moment there just now. So really giving him a run for his money here in this race this evening. And it is quite refreshing to see a female who is this passionate about the sport and is giving you the effort that we know that they're capable of, as even Formula One has been on their initiative to get more female drivers interested in the art of racing. So good to see that we have managed to get ourselves on the progressive bandwagon, so to speak, in finding a female talent like Raven Plummer. And she is certainly involved in that fight there with Alex Jarrett, trading punches, so to speak, through this section of the racetrack as they're about to head on to the back straight. And it seems like it's only a matter of time, because she certainly seems to have the pace advantage. But again, it's such a tight circuit that she's going to have a difficult time trying to make that move for that second position. We have not seen Kurt Moss since the start of this race. Kurt Moss has just been Sunday evening driving, so to speak, in front,
yeah, man.
Whilst the carnage is taking place behind him.
From the get-go, from lap 1, turn 1, he saw what was happening and just said, not today, Satan. Can't blame him.
You ever see that meme with somebody, with the guy standing in front of standing in a picture frame smiling while all of Doomsday is happening behind him? That is Kurt Moss at the moment. We are on board here with Vince da Silva, who is currently still involved in that fight with Mikhail Charles ahead of him. And Vince here giving Mikhail a run for his money and has the inside line there.
Sorry, that is
Taking,
Raven taking it from
oh,
Alex Jarrett. Sorry, I know it was me confusing you. But yes, Raven has finally gotten that move to stick as she went on the inside, pushed Alex a little bit wide as she could, and just to the
hey,
inside and made the move. It stuck.
get your elbows out when you need to, is what it is. And I don't know if this is giving Kurt Moss Vietnam flashbacks with Raven behind him, albeit 8.5 seconds down the road. But Alex Jarrett seems to be trying to come back here. She covers that move off quite nicely. It seems that this is the section of track that she struggles most with. This very tight and windy. It is a very awkward section of racetrack, though, I must say. That chicane is very slow and clumsy in a manner of speaking. So certainly she won't be the only driver struggling through that section of the racetrack. But Alex Jarrett looks to have a run here and is making the move on the inside. And will he be able to make it stick? The inside line is where you want to be around the street circuit, and that is move done. So Alex Jarrett fights back, coming out of the back straight as we are heading back to turn one. Well, heading to start finish and then to turn one. We will see if she has another maneuver in her to take the fight back to Alex Jarrett. All the while, Mark Anthony Eaton still just 3 seconds behind. If these two keep up that fight, that might play Eaton back into the equation as she looks to be moving to the inside again to try and take that position back. But as that is an inside-outside corner, Alex Jarrett able to hold on. And he seems to be putting on a rather smart defense at the moment, where he knows the best place to position that car throughout some of these corners. And if she is able to get the move again, she definitely needs to create a little bit of breathing room between herself and Alex, because she, again, does seem to have the pace advantage, but once you're involved in a fight, your pace will suffer. And she has the inside line here, heading towards that very awkward, tight section of track, and a little tight on the inside line there, but manages to get the move done. Back into second position for Raven Plummer, and now 10 seconds off the lead of the race. Last time around it was 8, and that just shows you how much time you lose fighting with the driver behind, as you see Mark Anthony Eaton there coming into frame. So if these two keep at it, maybe Mark now gets in on this fight, and we have a 3-way fight for the second step on the podium. And we are not yet at half race distance, and we've had all of this action.
But the pit window should be opening in the next 30 seconds. So let's see where strategy starts to play its part.
Absolutely. And we know Mark Anthony Eaton for his ability to pick out some blinding strategies when he wants to. So we'll see if he has another one in him to play himself back into this race a little bit. But in the meantime, Raven Plummer seems to have finally gotten that move to stick and is opening the gap to herself and Alex, as the pit window has just opened, as El Presidente did mention. And so we will see what these rivals now do in terms of pit strategy. Is this an overcut track, an undercut track? Vince Da Silva, the first man to pull the trigger. So we will definitely see what that means for the other drivers around him. That fight with Mikhail Charles just became a lot more interesting, and there he goes out of the pit box. Mikhail Charles now has at least another 2/3 of racetrack before he is able to make a pit stop. And as to whether or not that can gain Vince Da Silva track position, we will see. Or if Mikhail will even try to cover off that pit stop or has a different strategy in mind. Lots of things to figure out here as we proceed through this race. Boy, it's been a lot to keep up with. I'm not gonna lie, a lot's been happening.
And it's still not over, Chad. Raven is on the hunt now, but still, I guess, has Alex in the rear view. So, you know, is thinking twice. To me, Chad, the final set of corners is where Alex tends to eat up the time I have. Woo! What happened there? Alex Jarrett just glitched. Did I see correctly?
It seems that way, and I don't know if that means he got disconnected and probably the rendering of his car made contact with Raven Plumber there.
Bro, you know the Miley Cyrus song? I came in like a wrecking ball. That is all that came through my head. I mean, again, I am so sorry it happened. I'm genuinely confused, but that was the first song that came to my head. But anyways, I've never seen that happen before. That was a new one.
Yeah, I know that one.
But that does relegate Mark Anthony up to second. Or promote him up to second position into P2 with
Promotion, not a relegation, sir.
yeah, that's sorry, promotion to P2, 16 seconds behind Mr. Massive. So as you said, Mr. Massive is on a Sunday night stroll here in the Porsche Cup that I should be driving on my Sunday night stroll, if we're being honest. But that being said, what's that?
No, I'm telling you, we do need one of those for the Saturday evening / Sunday evening stroll.
Listen, I will slap on, because we do have virtual reality now at the JSRA. I will slap on a virtual reality helmet, put my fan in front of me, get a convertible, and I will go around town in Italy. All right, I am looking forward to it.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the definition of escapism. But
that being said, Kimani Eastman, who I believe Vince is still the only person to have taken a pit stop. But Kimani is the closest person to another driver who has yet to take his own pit stop. What are your thoughts? Have you even sat down long enough to figure out what just happened? Because
I think we're finally catching a break, because it's been non-stop since the start of the race. That is almost 24 minutes worth of non-stop racing action, and I'm sure we might be getting a little bit more as Raven tries to fall back that second position, having been, to borrow a phrase from the young kids, yeeted by Alex Jarrett at the end of the long straight.
Chad, that's so 2012. Come on, man. Listen, I still don't fully understand what yeet means, so let me not even say anything.
But yes, so we'll be watching along. It's a pity though, we started with 13, we are down to 8. So we have lost 5 drivers here as this race has gone on, and it is rather unfortunate to see these drivers go, but this is simulation, folks. Technology plays a factor, and those drivers, be it digital or JPS, somebody did something.
Right. Just like how JPS impeded one of our teams today in the 6-0. So anything can happen. I guess you can equate it to a blown out motor or a blown out tire, whatever you want to.
Absolutely. These things happen in real life racing as well. So we've had 5 retirements, but still 8 drivers competing. There seems to be a period of finally settled. I say that as Raven Plumber closing to
as about to say.
As Kimani Eastman, they're having a crash at the end of sector 1, it looks like. Well, he has gotten going again. Again, we're talking about a street circuit. It is very tight, very narrow, and not much room forever. But we will see if Raven Plummer has another overtake in there. Mark Anthony eating up 3 positions from where he started, but is now under pressure from the American once again. And we will see if she has it in her. But I think this might be where one of these drivers starts to look to pull the trigger on their pit stop, because
Definitely.
you getting involved in a fight at this point in time kind of hands Kurt Moss even more of an advantage than he already has, and I'm not sure if anybody was capable of fighting with him up to this point anyway. But maybe around a track like this, just like in Monaco, for example, you look to get your overtaking done in the pit stop window as opposed to out on track, because as much as we love to see the action out on track, sometimes as part of motor racing, it does lend itself to other factors in order to get the job done. And this might be one such instance, as they are going side by side here, and that was rather brave from Raven Plummer. They're still side by side, but Eaton on the inside line will have the advantage as Raven moves onto the racing line to try and get that move done around the outside. But along with being a strategist, Mark Anthony Eaton also the Minister of Defense. But not this time around, as she does seem to have. Ooh. Okay. A
That
lot
long.
happened there.
It looked like she lost the control of the car and wrong place, wrong time. But they came out unscathed. So let's go.
Absolutely. And good respectful racing between the two of them, because we did see Mark put up quite a defense there, getting his elbows out as we do expect him to do. But Raven once again has the measure of that car and takes the inside line at the end of the long straight, gets her elbows out to cover off Mark Anthony Eaton there at the second to last corner.
And there you called it.
Expected,
You called it.
diving into the pits right away.
Smart move.
Yeah, no, absolutely no. The question is, does Raven Plummer respond immediately? That is all dependent on where Mark Anthony manages to rejoin. Only 2 drivers have stopped so far, and there's still 12 minutes left.
Ooh, and it looks like Mark may have missed his pit box. I saw him in reverse there. So a little bit more time wasted there. Hopefully not too much. As we see Mikhail Charles come around and take P3 from Mark Anthony, as well as Roger Kello. So let's see what happens in
Mark
his
will rejoin in P5, and having done so, no traffic, still open track, so certainly can look to get the laps down, but time has been lost, and that gives Raven Plummer a bit of breathing room there, coming out of that pit stop. So Kurt Moss leads from Raven Plummer in second. Mikhail Charles finds himself up in third. Still yet to stop all of the top 4 drivers. All of the pit stops that have been made are 5, 6, and 8. I am not sure if Raphael has yet stopped, but he is.
Yes, Raphael has stopped twice actually, with followed by Kimani and Jaden. Mark Anthony with 1, and I think that's about it.
Yep. So all of the drivers in the top 4 have yet to stop. Everybody else has stopped. So Kurt Moss has also stopped. He is now in the pits, and I'm almost sure he will reemerge by the time Raven gets on the start-finish straight. So pits in first, might come back out in first. We will see in a moment's time.
No, I think no, she will definitely be passing him. But at the same time, she still has to pit, as she does come around turn 1 very squarely.
The car very nicely there. Maybe it is time to go in. Those tires might be suffering a little bit with all the fighting she has been doing out there on track, because that will certainly go a long way in taking some life out of your tires. So we're looking at about a 35 to 37 second pit stop there as Kurt Moss reemerges. 13 and a half seconds behind Raven Plummer, who was 21 seconds behind when Kurt Moss was in the pit. So yeah, a decent half a minute to 40 second pit stop there, and Mikhail Charles will rejoin. It looks like ahead of Vince Da Silva in their fight. So the overcut working there for Mikhail Charles against Vince Da Silva. And again, sometimes it plays out in the strategy cards. So we've seen this before, where staying out a little bit longer helps, whether the driver encountered traffic or a mistake was made. Things can happen, and suddenly you find yourself losing a position without ever coming into contact with the car that you lost the position to. So the only drivers yet to take their pit stop, Raven Plummer, Roger Keller, I believe that's it.
Yes.
So
Yep.
just
Yep.
Raven Plummer and Roger Keller still in the
Right.
runners that have yet to take a pit stop. So Eaton looks like he will get back that third position when all is said and done. But I guess the question is, may it even be second? Because looking at the time difference, there's about 30 seconds, no, 39 seconds
Right.
between her and Mark Anthony Eaton. So that's about the pit stop delta. So I'm not sure if Raven, we saw her make a mistake there in turn one.
Well, she
I'm
did
not sure
make
if
her
that
pit
mistake,
stop, so let us follow
yeah.
along with Mark Anthony. But
Mark now coming down the back straight, and I'm not sure if that mistake gave back the advantage that he would have lost whilst making that error in the pit stop window. She has not yet gotten going, and Mark is coming around onto start finish straight. So she just got going now, and there is Mark coming into frame. It could be close, but I think she has it done. He will emerge close behind, but she has rejoined the track just a little bit ahead and manages to cover off Mark Anthony Eaton, who stopped a few laps earlier than she did. So she will also have slightly fresher tires. Not sure how much of a role that will play in their fight, but Mark Anthony Eaton 4 seconds adrift of Raven Plummer, having rejoined this race after taking her pit stop. And the only driver still yet to make his pit stop is running up in second position, Mr. Roger Keller, who will rejoin somewhere around
P7.
about P7
Yeah.
there. Uh, Possibly P6. He
Yeah.
might
Maybe.
be just about in the hunt with Vince da Silva, given the gap between the two. So we will see if he decides to bring his car in now, the only driver yet to pit with 6 minutes left.
That's what I was about to say.
So not very many laps left to choose from. It's either this lap or the next lap, or he might risk missing that pit window.
Or possibly follow one of the Mr. Dillon on the dot strategies and go for a three-peat.
Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That's part of racing. Not every strategy call will be Hungary 20. What was that? Hungary 2016.
There you go. But yeah, you're right. I guess the racing has kind of plateaued, but that where Roger comes out, I feel like it will be right in the mix for P6 to fight for.
Absolutely. So we will keep an eye on where Vince da Silva is on the circuit to see where he reemerges. And Vince is coming through the second to last corner now. So I think Vince will likely get ahead of Mr. Keller, and then Roger will have to try and hunt him down
Yes, sir.
towards the latter stages of this race, as Roger is still stationary in his pit box now that Vince has gone by. And still stationary. That's a long pit stop there, I think, from Roger Keller. That took longer than everybody else's stop. I'm not sure if he had some damage there that he had to repair to try and get the best out of the car for the last 15 minutes. But sixth position comfortably ahead of Rafael Rivas. Not sure if he'll be making up that 17 seconds to Vince da Silva, but we will keep an eye on that with 14 minutes to go here in this race. But it seems we have all settled into position. The only question is Mikhail Charles 3 seconds behind Mark Anthony. Will he get any closer to Mark than that, or will Mark try to close the gap down to Raven Plummer ahead to make that fight close for the second step on the podium? 14 minutes to go, folks, and we have gotten some brilliant racing action in the first half of this race, but the second half looks to have kind of resided itself to all the drivers and their current positions. Not much left. Well, not much action taking place out on track now. Everybody just going through the motions, putting in their laps and trying to be as quick as possible whilst keeping it on the road. And I mean, if this is round one,
That's what I was about to say, Chad. I
I look
mean,
forward to what's coming because
we
we
have
see
which track is next? I think we have Indianapolis next. We have Kota, and we have what was the third one? Where's my But yeah, as you say, I can't wait for the racing. If this is anything, if this is a testimony too.
this is a very American Porsche Cup. So we're going Miami, Indianapolis, Kota, might as well just go Watkins Glen to and done.
We also had Sebring on the calendar as well to start, but then because of the 12-hour, we did reschedule the race to start, so we closed off the first race, and now we have entered into round one. Next will be Indianapolis, which is another circuit I'm very much so looking forward to, as well as Road Atlanta. That was the track that I was
That's
forgetting.
more American.
But yeah, this is the true 2024 calendar for the Porsche series. So definitely something.
The FIA and the American market already, so
There you go.
I'm not the least bit surprised. But here we are. I think this is the most screen time Mr. Moss has gotten all race long, and it looks like the biggest challenge he has had is that chicane before the back straight. That's been his
Yes,
biggest rival all race long.
it's been a smooth sailing for Mr. Massive. So happy for him. Again, these are the cars that he's a little bit more used to, and I guess prefer. These tracks, again, I get it. Miami is not the easiest. It's not everybody's favorite, but I still enjoy it. I can
Don't get me wrong,
enjoy.
it has a very unique style to it.
Unique is
I
the
don't
right
think it's a
word.
yeah, it's not a racer's track. I mean, the longest straight is not the start finish straight. And the start finish straight is deemed the second longest straight because if you want to be technical,
Right.
that section there is technically flat out with the exception of maybe that.
A little lift and coast, right?
But yeah, no, certainly the first half of this race did produce some brilliant racing action, and if had we not had some of the retirements that we did, we may have been treated to even more racing action than we got. So promise shown for the rounds to come. We will certainly want to see what those drivers who missed out can produce in the coming races, and some of them are a lot more familiar with the other tracks on the calendar,
Yes,
as well as
sir.
those tracks are also more traditional racetracks, so you don't get any of this packet on the inside defense. You will certainly be challenged a little bit more in terms of how you defend around some of those other tracks. But
And something I love as well, Chad, is our point structure. Because it's not our usual chase for pace structure that follows more of a Formula One style. We are following more of a sprint race format for the point structure, which should give everybody a fair chance, or to fight for the top seed or top spot. As the points go as follows from first to eighth, 12 points, 10, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, and then 1. There will not be a sprint race after. It is just one single 50-minute race, and once the 50 minutes elapses and the driver passes the lead driver passes the line, the race is or will be on its, I guess, its ending. But that being said, it gives more room for fights, because right now, if we are to finish as it stands, Kurt with 12, Raven with 10, and then Mark with 8. Next race, we may have Estefan. Well, we will have Estefano back in, which will throw another wrench in this. Well, screw in the wrench, wrench in the screw. I forgot the saying. I apologize. But that being said, it just gives you so much room for fights, rivalries to bud. As you can see, Mr. Nazir did miss this week, sadly, but he will be back before the end of the series, as well as Mr. Roger. Had a rough start to this race, so rivalries which have been stemmed from the Caribbean Touring Car Championship will be moving into the Porsche Cup, and I am looking forward to it. So we should have more drivers coming in. The standard has been set. The racing, to me, I can't ask for more. It was a little bit aggressive from time to time, but hey, what's racing without a little thing, door banging? So, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. If you ain't rubbing, you ain't racing, as the saying goes. So I mean, some of those moves, I'm sure the stewards might have a different opinion on, but from a viewer standpoint, you want to see the aggression. You don't want to see people just allowing drivers to go by all willy-nilly. But we will get more action as time progresses. And as El Presidente mentioned, with another 3 rounds in this championship to finish off the December period, this will be our last series for the 2023 calendar year, and we want to thank you, all of the supporters and viewers that have been with us throughout the growth of this year. I mean, at the start of the year, even into the summer period, we had maybe a 7-8 car grid of Jamaicans that were a little bit inconsistent. But towards the second half of the year, we've certainly seen the growth that we were hoping for, getting drivers from all across the region as well as internationally. We've found drivers from different parts of the world, and they've found us in one means or the next. And we've certainly connected with a few others through different platforms. We've gotten to race with lots of international teams on WSS. We've done a couple of their endurance races with teams of Jamaicans mostly, and it's produced some brilliant racing action for us, and it helps with the growth, just so you see what the levels of competition look like on an international scale. And there is certainly more to come in terms of growth for the JSRA and what it has planned for 2024.
And sorry to cut you there, Chaddy B, but I have noticed Mikhail was making a little inroads into that gap between him and Mr. Eaton, but as well Mr. Eastman dropping the gap below 2 seconds. I hope he's not listening to me as we speak. Anytime I start up, okay, man, him go find himself in a wall so.
But worse than that is it's not it's if I talk about him, but
Yeah,
what
so
you did was put the camera on him. So I won't say much. I will just observe the battle before you hear some me goat mountain thing.
I know Kimani is literally sitting down listening to the stream like, watch them. We'll talk about it after the stream, no worries. But yes,
boy.
he is making inroads into Raphael with 5 minutes left in this race. So let's not call it too soon. Yeah, let's not call it too soon. Positions and they are fighting up to 8 positions. So obviously Kimani has his eyes set. It's now almost under a second, as it's now 1.2. So let's see. We have 5 minutes remaining. Mikhail is maintaining that gap to Mr. Eaton at roughly about 2.5, 2.7 seconds. Or 3 seconds, let's say.
If he can make any more inroads into that, but all the while Kimani Eastman here giving chase to Mr. Rivas, and if he is able to close that gap down, maybe there will be a chance for him to make a move here towards the end of this event. And with 4 minutes and 40 seconds to play, it's a kind of now or never situation there for Kimani Eastman. Needs to get that move done, and he needs to get it done quickly if he wants to get it done before this race ends. Kurt Moss still cruising away out in front. Will have about 2 more laps to go at the end of this one. So I don't see a +1 lap, so I assume it's wherever time ends once the driver
Yes, sir.
So I think we have maybe 3 laps of racing to go, as that is Kurt Moss now crossing start finish, it seems. So If he does 2 very consistent laps on pace with what he has been doing, we have 2 plus 1 to go before this one ends. So Kimani might have about 3 laps to get this move done. On the
No,
second
no, try to be sorry. It is as the 50 minutes elapses, and
yeah,
oh, okay. You said 2
yeah,
plus
but
1. Okay,
yeah, no, because Kurt might cross the line before time elapses
got you.
on the third lap. Is what I
Understood.
was.
Yeah. Okay. My apologies. But yep,
So
you're right.
so Kimani has about 3 laps to get this done. He is right there with Rafael Rivas, and we will see if he has one more move in him for the day. Kimani, part of that team earlier in the 6-hour that had the unfortunate displeasure of coming into contact with JPS off the track.
I say you can just say these things so eloquently. It's a good thing I never say car. Anyways, you're right. Again, unfortunate.
Yep, it is part of simulation racing, but as you mentioned, it's no different than a tire blowout or a crash or a engine failure, that kind of thing,
Right.
which happens in real racing. So uh, there are any number of reasons that a driver might find himself retiring, whether in simulation racing or in real life racing. And at the end of the day, just like life, nothing is ever certain. But Kimani Ison is certainly putting the pressure on Rafael Rivas at this stage of the game. That gap now just under 3 tenths, and certainly will be looking for where he can make that move. Kimani Ison coming alive here in the latter part of this race, trying to
Ooh,
figure out where to
there's a
make
run.
that move. And yes, he is looking at the outside line now, but that's not where you want to be. Again, drivers know to stick to the inside, but does Kimani have the pace to get the move done before they get to the braking zone? Not quite. And he will have to try again, maybe looking to dive up the inside there. But that corner is a sweeper, so the wide line might not favor you, and then the driver gets back the inside line for the next corner. Um, Kimani being very generous with the racing room there. I am not gonna lie, I would not be that generous. Getting his elbows out, but missing the chicane. I imagine he has to give that position back, and he does so.
That he
And back
does.
on the hunt. Very nicely done there from Kimani Eastman, showing good race etiquette and racecraft. Is that Kurt Moss behind them?
That is Mr. Massive. That is
And
your race leader.
they are at risk of being lapped. I'm sure they'll be seeing blue flags at the moment, and Kimani Eastman will want to get that move done before the blue flags hits, because you could lose a lot of time trying to let the lead car go by. And that is Kimani Eastman now coming out ahead of Rafael Rivas, with Kurt Moss looking to lap both cars in a moment's time as they are going through turn one. Kimani Eastman will have to dive out of the way somewhere here to allow the leader to go, and this is the final lap. Time will elapse momentarily, and once Kurt Moss crosses the line, that is the race done. So we are looking at 2 sectors to go here in the opening round of the Porsche Cup, or final Chase or Pace series of 2023. And Kurt Moss putting on, dare I say, a masterclass here this evening, led from start to finish minus his pit stop. Very Moss Verstappen-esque, dare I say. And looking to secure round one with 3 rounds to come, and we will be looking to see if anybody will challenge him in the later rounds. He did have a rough couple of races in the multi-car series, and I think, as you mentioned, not favoring the cars in the Caribbean Touring Car Championship, but found his groove today and finds himself back on the top spot, 23 seconds clear of the next closest competitor, Miss Raven Tomo, or, well, I was gonna say rookie, but that don't look like a rookie.
I guess you can consider them rookie JSRA rookies. But yeah, the word is that's disrespectful
Yeah,
at
you
this
can't.
point. Ooh,
Um,
as Kimani lost the position to Rafael Rivas from Panama on the last
oh,
lap,
and on
right
the
on the
last lap, yeah,
oh my
corner.
gosh.
And these two
That is
drivers
on.
will come across the line to finish a lap down, and both drivers have finished. So
Yes.
Miss Raven Plummer now going through the final corner to come home in second place as Kurt Moss has taken the victory. And behind her, Mark Anthony Eaton, the ever present, lurking in the shadows to capitalize, manages to take third place in the opening race. So these drivers have stamped their marks for round one, and with 3 rounds to go, we look for what the remaining competitors will do once they get a full race under their belt. But certainly, round one gave us some action to talk about and to definitely see what these drivers are capable of here this evening. Can't ask for more than this, really.
No, Chad, that was what I expected. I mean, again, it was a little, uh, what's the word? Chaotic at points. Especially, again, I'm very confused to what happened there with Alex's when he disconnected, because it obviously wasn't anything intentional, but I've just never seen anything like that happen. But that being said, the stewards, I know they have a long night ahead as well, long day ahead of them for tomorrow, because our new protest system does into drivers going, well, the stewards going through all of the footage on the final day. But that being said, again, another huge congratulations to Mr. Massive back on the top step of the podium, followed by your, as you said, the JSRA rookie, Miss Raven Plummer, followed by, again, our JSRA vet, Mr. Mark Anthony Eaton. But awesome racing. They've shown why we've given them licenses. It's not that we like them, not to say that we don't like them, but you know, they've earned their spot
I have
on
some choice
on.
words for some of them. I'm not going to pretend.
What's that?
I have some choice words for some of
You
them.
have
I
some
won't
choice
pretend.
words. Understood. But at the end of the day, awesome racing by the drivers. We will start having our racing interviews again after, well, starting back next week. So, that being said, Chad, thank you for having me alongside you. I know I'm not the best, but I do what I can. But when you have racing like this, they make the job so easy. So,
Absolutely. I was looking at that's Roger's livery. The livery they're tough.
it's tough, man. That's the one I chose for mine as well. And just to let you know, we do have drivers making their own liveries, so that will also be launched for next week. Sadly, we had a little issue with the servo on the last minute, so we ended up having to re-upload it without deliveries. So, that being said, you will be able to identify the drivers a little bit easier next week by both their driver numbers and their liveries. So, something else to look forward to.
I'm on but the livery they both say when I order mine from A-Tail, I want that livery on it.
Noted. Oh boy. But I will take this opportunity as well, though. Again, congratulations to Mr. Massive. Always happy to have him on board. That is round one concluded, and I am looking forward to the next 3 rounds with Indianapolis coming up next with, was it Road Atlanta? And then the finale being at the driver's favorite, Kota. One of my favorite races to watch, so I am looking forward to it.
My favorite. Yeah, right.
But
Kitty,
yes, I am looking forward to the end of or the final three races with not just the Chase for Pace series, but as well the Caribbean Touring Car Championship, which starts the same time on Fridays at 7 p.m. And we invite all of our viewers to please take a look at our calendar on our social media on JSRA official on Instagram for any information on our races. We're excited to have you guys watch. We're excited to show you, and we're always looking to improve the product. So, if you guys have anything to say, anything to suggest, please, we are listening. But that being said, Mr. Dillon, you can take it away.
Well, not much more to say. You've covered all the bases. Subscribe to our social medias. Keep abreast of all of the racing action and see highlights from people like me doing foolishness on track. um, as well as, get updates on where to watch, what to watch. And if you wish to participate, we welcome newcomers. Of course, you would have to go through our licensing procedure, as El Presidente mentioned. So definitely you would have to message in to find out what the details are. But once again, thank you for being here with us. We do appreciate your viewership, and we will see you next week.
Six, my regular. I'm talking